Canadian storyteller, writer, and orator Stuart McLean of the Vinyl Cafe on CBC paid a visit to the Wheat City Sunday night, and I had the divine pleasure to share some time with Stuart, as well as the good lovelies ahead of their show at the WMCA. With a new CD, Planet Boy, and new book, Extreme Vinyl Cafe, Stuart has once again brought his unique and delightful brand of humor to Canadians. Crossing the country, Stuart commented on what keeps pulling he and the Vinyl Cafe back out on the road.
As a writer, I get to be present at the moment of giving and receiving, which is a great privilege for a writer. Most writers send their work out and have to intuit how it's doing. They look at bestseller lists or they look at reviews, but I get to be there, and more than just be there, I get to collaborate with my audience. We work on the stories very hard. I write them, but I then work with my editor to get them as good as we can get them. But then when we do them on stage, Jess Milton, who's the producer of the show, sits in the wings with a script and marks it up for the things that she thinks are working and aren't working, and we caucus every morning or afternoon and make changes to the stories based on the feedback we get from the audiences. So one of the great benefits for me as a writer is that I get hundreds of editors working on the stories with me, and the stories get better for it. I'm a very lucky guy. I've spent 35 years at CBC Radio. I spent the first 10 years working at a documentary show called Sunday Morning, where I traveled around the world making radio documentaries, and it was while I was working on that show as a young guy, I learned the mechanical skills of writing. And then I worked with Zosky for 10 years as a columnist, essentially, and I found my voice as a writer in that second decade. And now in the third decade, I've been able to exercise my voice as a writer and use the technical stuff I learned and the development that I underwent to find my voice as a writer, to find out what I wanted to write about and the kind of language that I like using, the style I like using. All of those early years, although they were a different kind of writing, had a big part in preparing me for what I'm doing now.
McLean shared his views on nationalism as well as what it meant to him to be a Canadian.
I'm not a big nationalist. I don't think that nationalism necessarily serves us well. A lot of harm has been done in the name of nationalism. But I am a big Canadian. There's a bit of a contradiction there. I think the Canadian people have done such an amazing job with the poor cards that were dealt with us, difficult cards that were dealt with us. When they put together the nations, they gave us the two of clubs of climate. They gave us the two of clubs of culture. They took two warring European cultures and they put them together in a small place and gave them the bad climate, stretched the civilization along a narrow stretch of geography that stretched for miles. I think, are we the largest country in the world? I think so, yeah. Geographically. And they said, okay, make a go of it. And I think we have done an amazing job. The solutions that we have come up with to solve the difficult problems of living together, the way we care for those of us who are sick, the way we care for those of us who can't work, who might harm themselves or harm others, the way we come to decisions that we have to come to together. I think we do all of these in a really admirable way, and I think the collective Canadian coming together is something that should be celebrated, and we should in our quiet way lend our hands to others, because I think and show others what we've done, because I think we've done well. That's what being Canadian means to me.
On a lighter note, Stuart shared what Dave and Morley might say to him if they were to share a coffee someday.
What would they say to me? I think they'd probably take issue at how I tell their stories. I'm always I'm always shining the light of my storytelling on the difficult moments of their lives. You know, a humorist fattens on trouble. I think it was E.B. White who said that, you know, a normal person, if they see a ironing board collapse and an iron go flying and laundry go flying, leaps out of their chair and rushes to help, where a humorist leaps out of his chair and rushes for his notebook. Yeah, sure. So they might sit me down and say, "Come on, we're not that ridiculous." Yeah. And why do you know, that they might sit me down and say, "Well, that's true, but you exaggerated our lives a little bit." And I'd say, "Yeah, but it was sort of funny, wasn't it?" You know what? I was away for most of the Olympics. My son goes to school in Ireland, and I had a story to write for this tour we're on now. And I thought, and that's all I had to do for a couple of weeks. And I thought, gee, I could write this story in Ireland as well as I could write it in Canada. And I wanted to spend time with him and see him. So during most of the Olympics, I was holed up in a hotel in Dublin, and every morning I would get up and I would walk down this wonderful pedestrian walkway they had, which led from my hotel to Trinity, where he's studying, and he gave me his graduate student pass, and I illegally let myself into the 1937 student reading room, which is this old library, a round library reserved for grad students, and I sat in the library every day writing my story. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of coverage of the Winter Olympics in Ireland, so I missed most of the Olympics. I saw the hockey game, however. This tour is like all of our tours. It's a staged version of the radio show. We have a great musical act, the Good Lovelies, 3 young women from small town Ontario, and reminiscent of kind of the Andrews sisters, Boswell sisters, tight 3-part harmony. You can hear them vaguely in the background. They're warming up right now. John Sheard on the piano, who's recorded with Olivia Newton-John and written for Celine Dion. Dennis Pendrith on bass, who's recorded and toured with Murray McLaughlin and Bruce Coburn and Gordon Lightfoot. And when they're not singing or playing, those guys, I'll be telling stories.
As with all Vinyl Cafe performances, music plays a key role, and the Juno-nominated Good Lovelies will be performing at the WMCA along with McLean.
We've been on tour with Stuart and the Vinyl Cafe for...
We've done 11 shows.
11 shows.
About 2 weeks. 2 weeks today.
1 week to go.
Yeah. Oh.
Aww.
I met these girls. I saw them breaking up a bar fight, and I thought, these are 2 women I want to sing harmony with.
I don't remember it that way. We were actually at a chess tournament. Carrie was playing for Manitoba, actually, and I was playing for Ontario, and Sue was playing
Caroline, don't lie. It was a limbo competition, and you know it. She's very flexible. And that's where we met. I couldn't resist. I think we started singing at the bar fight, I think, and then... Oh, okay. That's how that worked. You guys just sounded...
Was the limbo competition at the bar?
Just before the chess tournament.
Okay, now I remember, yes. It's just a bit hazy.
Does that answer your question? We have the one that we are touring with right now is our full-length CD we released January of 2009, and we're touring with it happily. We just found out a week ago that it was nominated for a Juno. Yeah. So we have that one. And we have a Christmas CD out, which in March is not the right time to be touring it, and an EP that we made in 2007.
This actually is not new to us. Last March, we did a 23-date tour of the prairies.
Yes,
we did a house concert tour, so we played in people's living rooms. And we actually played right here in Brandon at a house, the Goldie family. And I think they're coming tonight, so it's really nice.